This channel is going to be mainly for like astrology and then some makeup, and I know like all my makeup gurus right now are probably looking at my face and they're like, your face is not beat, why are you talking about doing makeup? Usually my face doesn't look like this, because I figured I'm going to start with astrology, like beating my whole face and doing like fake lashes like isn't really necessary. I'm gonna start small. I figured like instead of being like a boring like first intro YouTuber and being like, oh, let's start on how to read a natal chart, like, which is really interesting, but if you're someone who's like newer to astrology or just kind of easing into it or kind of like picks it up sometimes but doesn't like live for it, you're not gonna really want to watch this video. So I figured, why not do something fun as like a first way to like start this YouTube channel out. Let's start with why not to date the signs, and then there is a disclaimer, date the signs. Most of these things will only attribute to underdeveloped signs. So pretty much like there's an underdeveloped and developed sign. And that just means grows up and learns how to like channel their energy into healthier ways. If you're a developed sign and you're watching all this and you've learned everything and you're already mature, you're gonna not really understand why I'm saying this or why I'm coming for your jugular, because you're not gonna relate to whatever problematic behavior that I'm saying. So this isn't really for you, but more specifically to keep this short and simple, even though this is already like a 3-minute intro. I really hope I edit this well. Why not to date the signs? Why not to date Aries? So Aries to me is child of the Zodiac or the top, and I feel like you shouldn't date an Aries underdeveloped, like me-centered, and what doesn't interest them doesn't matter at all. It's okay if you just have a lot in common with someone, then like you'll get along and it won't be an issue. You maybe have like strong opinions that they don't have, or you have strong interests that they just don't see the point of. You most likely, if you're dating that Aries, will not do those things. Now, I mean, I don't want to speak for everyone, but I'm just saying, like, if you're like strong and independent and like you do whatever you want, then whatever, go ahead. It's just going to be like an uphill argument no matter what you guys do. Everything is about their interests and it feels almost self-centered, but they also have a tendency to victimize themselves and become really bratty and show their true toddler age when they don't get what they want or if they feel like they were wronged. And they're also very, very sensitive. So it's kind of like learning how to juggle handling their emotions and catering to their interests as well as getting your way too. I don't know. So not to mention, at times they can be seen as like a flirt. They're very hot-headed, very passionate. They constantly need impulse. They constantly need adrenaline and intrigue, and that's great. But like, a lot of things that are attached to those usually come with like temporary. So maybe not the most likely to settle down first out of all 12 signs. So if you're looking to marry and have kids and this person very adamantly talking about how they love their independence, I probably wouldn't put all your eggs in that basket. So yeah, video. So Taurus, very do as they say, not as I do. Very stubborn, they can do no wrong, but you can do everything wrong. You need a lot of attention, very judgmental, very hypocritical. They're like the queen and king of, they'll tell you, don't talk to people, don't go out, like, I don't know. This is just an example. I'm not saying that this is something they would probably say. And then they'll like go out and they'll talk to people. But they'll be like mad if you do that. I don't know. So yeah, very stubborn, very loud. Their opinion is usually the only opinion. They are a fixed sign. Fixed signs are your Aquarius, Leo, Taurus, Scorpio, which means very one-sided at times. And their opinion is like the holy grail. And if they genuinely don't want to change their opinion, good luck trying to make them change their opinion. That goes for all of them. It's just a fixed sign thing. They'll probably spend all of their money and then they'll spend all of yours. That's like a big problem for underdeveloped Tauruses. Still suffering with money management. That's a huge thing that I've seen. Now Taurus is like the workaholic archetype in a sense. So like they can be good with money. There are Tauruses out there that are probably great with money, watching this and feeling completely slighted. This is not for you, though. This is the underdeveloped. Why not to date a Gemini? Okay, so Gemini gets a lot more flack in the astrology world than they should. Like, literally, if you see, like, memes on Tumblr, it's literally all, like, Gemini hate. And has a lot of good to them, and I feel like that is constantly not mentioned. But with that being said, get into why you shouldn't date one. So Gemini is great conversationalist, ruled by Mercury, needs communication, needs interpersonal skills, usually not a hard thing for them, you would think. But when it comes to dating them, they are extremely flighty, like they're an ever-expanding sponge. They need to constantly gather as much information as possible and go on to the next thing. They're, in my opinion, they're the baby of the Zodiac. With that being said, they constantly need big and bold and exciting and intellectual. That's their biggest thing, is they need to feel they're intellectually growing in a relationship, or else they can't be in that relationship. This also goes for like Gemini and Venus, Gemini moon. You can just apply whatever. Just do what you want. Why not to date one? I would just say because they constantly need more. They're constantly searching for more, and it can be emotionally draining at times, trying to satiate their hunger for knowledge and for what could be out there. They really need their freedom. They really need their independence. They don't like being told what to do. Oh, Cancer. Extremely sensitive, really kind, great in terms of like taking care of others, especially when they're developed, like Cancer. Then they're like the mother, obviously, because they're ruled by the moon, which is the mother. Why not to date an underdeveloped Cancer is because they become extremely bratty, extremely crybaby stereotype, constantly needs to like victimize themselves and be a martyr to everything. They can do no wrong, but everyone else can do wrong, and they like to have an audience, and if they aren't getting it from the relationship, they will seek like outsider opinions. They're that kind of person that I feel would like bring a lot of other people into the relationship when you don't want other people like in every single argument that you have with them. Leo. The absolute worst. No, I'm kidding. Will constantly demand all of your attention, very clingy, bratty. And they will also do this in ways that you don't even feel like stereotypically they are being clingy. They're kind of mind games. They'll demand your attention, but they'll do it in really like deflective, like I don't care what you want, or I don't care what you do. Like underdeveloped Leos constantly need validation, seeking attention. They constantly need to feel good enough, because sometimes they don't. Like, loud and stubborn and try to be like a leader, but when they're underdeveloped, like they channel all of that energy into really like unproductive ways. So yeah, don't date a Leo. Don't date a Virgo. Oh, they constantly always need to be right. They're also ruled by Mercury, but Gemini and Virgo are both ruled by Mercury. We'll get into this later. Have a really high, never-ending checklist of what they need from you and from a relationship, and they need someone perfect. I'm thinking like Black Swan. They need perfection. They will kill themselves for perfection. They will kill you for perfection. So like you really better be, stop telling me to stand up. Do you see this? Need to achieve like greatness and success. Sometimes it's because they're overperforming because they personally feel inadequate, so they channel this in ways where like you feel inadequate because of this. They project their own insecurities onto other people to the point that like it feels draining and you feel like you're not good enough, but really like they just don't feel good enough, so they're like cutting you down because that's like a reflection of how they cut themselves down. Underdeveloped Virgos tend to act like that. Developed Virgos are great. They're like really nurturing, sweet, kind. Stereotype for girlfriends on memes on Facebook where it's like, where do you want to eat? And then the girl's like, I don't know. Yeah, so that's Libra. That's an underdeveloped Libra. They're very petty. They live for drama, but like they will never admit it. They live for gossip. They live for attention. But they're also like really indecisive on like who they are and what they stand for, because they're also like the biggest hopeless romantic, so they constantly are striving for like this fairy tale romance, and they do not care how that fairy tale romance starts as long as it happens. And so even if it's leaving a relationship they're already in, you know, so that's why you shouldn't date a Libra. Pretty much expect them to like magic and probably need a restraining order from them when the relationship ends, because they'll psychotically obsess over you, whether it's like through hatred or through like genuinely missing you. They're always right. They always feel like they're right, even when they're not right. But they do like to be revered, talking about like what interests them or what they're really good at. But they do it in like ways where it feels like an inclusive conversation. But then like towards the end of it, you don't realize like they've just like literally listed off their entire resume to you. So that can be draining because it's kind of like a me-centered thing. Also, Scorpio demands that you give them literally your whole soul. You're like signing a contract to Ursula, but don't expect them to do that for you. Okay, like they never signed a contract. They never like made an agreement that they have to like sell their soul. They just require that you sell your soul if you're going to get involved with them. There is a huge clause in that because a lot of people like they get that intensity from a Scorpio and they're like, oh, it's like an Edward Cullen Bella relationship because that went so well. Have you to themselves, and that possessiveness can be like really like romantic and attractive at first, but then when you realize like they're not really like required to allow you to be possessive back, or like if you try to be possessive back, like they'll like kind of act like you're crazy even though like they've been doing that to you. So yeah. Not to date a Sagittarius. I mean, why would you? No, I'm kidding. Because they are constantly, the grass is always greener on the other side. Way of like approaching situations and like having interpersonal relationships are typically based around like using a sarcasm coping mechanism to further that relationship. And like they like to flirt by like putting people down, or like at least underdeveloped ones, like they constantly need to like, oh really, that's what you're interested in, like, and it's just, I don't know, like it leaves you on your toes, so you feel like this is like a mind game, but it's like sexy, but then like you realize also that they're just kind of being jerks. Stereotypically, they're more like Gemini and Aries in the sense that they're very like wanderlust and interested in everything to a fault. They have a constant need to not be trapped. Their fear of like a confined space and like a routine like actually bothers them. They don't really want stability. They find stability through instability. They're really dramatic and draining at times, but they like act like they're very laid back. And Aquarius literally needs to be an original, and like they'll be petty enough to the point that like if you start referencing a band or something in front of like your group of friends, they'll be like low-key upset about it because they've discovered them first. Like elusive in the sense that like they need their independence and they need to feel like creatively, like artistically original and abstract, and if they feel like they're becoming something like less than that, I don't think they can tolerate it. I think it genuinely bothers them. American Horror Story, think of like Evan Peters giving Violet the black rose and how like that was really like original and unique and dark. They have a hard time accepting people's emotions and feelings, and they kind of like deflect that, or they kind of act like bored or uninterested with you as a coping mechanism to like try to keep themselves safe from you because they're scared of getting hurt, but sometimes like that can hurt you instead, and they'd rather hurt you versus hurt themselves. The Capricorn, they are like OCD freaks. They are extremely judgmental. They will literally put you on a platter and dissect you, and then they'll reconstruct you and their image. And then if you don't feed into that image, or you like aren't meeting their requirements, you're not good enough, and just have commitment issues, like jealous, but maybe they like don't want to fully commit to you. They like require a lot, but like will not give you much in return. Use this as a mechanism to protect themselves, and that's fine, but like they're kind of like Aquarius in the sense that like they would rather protect themselves than you. If they're not like fully developed or mature, then it'll be really difficult catered to what they want, and they have a hard time like compromising in that because they constantly feel that they are right. And I feel like if you can't have room for realizing like that when you're not right, like that's kind of a problem in itself. Pisces drown you in emotion, but like the minute you don't reciprocate that, they'll cut your head off. They'll just like ghost you, and you'll never hear from them again. Like they literally so much attention and emotion and emotional intimacy and emotional vulnerability, but if you were not at that same pace with them, they'll leave. And it's like almost like the relationship didn't even happen to them. What is that term that they use in Orange Is the New Black, where you like build something really beautiful and then you just like let the ocean wash it away? That's like literally like what dating an underdeveloped Pisces is like, because it's almost like an illusion, because like they'll literally like make you feel like something really like intense happened, but the minute they're displeased with that, it didn't happen. You didn't happen. They don't know you. So it's very, it can be, like, really emotionally, like, tarnishing to, like, your ego, how quickly they'll be willing to move on. It almost feels like all of the romantic sentiments before that were fake and not as significant to them as they were to you. This concludes my video. I hope this was a good first video. I don't think it was. I'm really excited. Let's just see what happens. Yeah, so thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. And turn off the notifications. Just exit out. No, but yeah, so we'll see what happens. I don't know. I probably should have straightened my hair for this video. So like, you really better be, stop telling me to stand up. Do you see this?